जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम students of grade 11. This is Pakistan International School Thai. I welcome you all on our YouTube channel, and you are here with me in English Hub. How are you students? How are you doing? Are you attending your online classes? If not, so just take them seriously please, because you have uh, available on our YouTube channel, so don't miss them, right? Okay, and be regular in your prayers. Don't miss your prayers. If you're not regular, so make your routine, right? Never miss your prayers 5 times a day. Okay, it's our virtual learning system session 2020. It's lecture number 5. If you remember, I told you last time that I'm going to teach you a poem in the next lecture. So we'll start our poetry section. So this is the topic, right, of our poem. It's September, the first day of school. It's me, Mrs. Imran. I'm gonna teach you today. GBT. It's about major objective. What major objectives come in your mind when you talk about poetry? That's very important because poetry is it's a different piece of writing, right? It's not like prose. It's all about it's based upon verses, right? It's broken like the words are sentences have been broken. These have been written in words form. So for that, let me tell you, it's about to demonstrate and identify how a poet affects the reader. Yes, uh, it matters a lot. It really gives an impression that we have to go with the flow of the poet, right? What poet actually want to say about any specific piece of writing? If he is writing a poem and then afterwards it comes to us that we are going to read that poetry, so what we need to do, what we have to know about his perception level first, and then afterwards we'll see how it's been written, right? What type of impact are we getting from that specific from that piece of writing? So that's very important to know about rhyming scheme, rhythm, voice, tone, and mood of the poet. That's very important. How rhyming scheme, because rhyming scheme is good, so mostly poets take care of it a lot, that how this rhyming scheme is being designed, is it being followed properly or not. And rhythm is the beat and pace of a poem, and is created by the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. So it's been strictly followed mostly. And then once again, few of the poets even don't follow that, right? It depends. Now, meter. What is meter? Meter is not mentioned here, but let me tell you, this is also an important tool of poetry, right? So, meter is a regular pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables, and that defines the rhythm of some poetry, right? So, it's related to the rhythm. Now, voice or tone, that's or maybe it can be, and mood also, that maybe the tone is expressive, I mean, maybe aggressive, or maybe humble, or maybe so lenient or gentle, depends, right? It depends upon different tones. And then moods in that way, the tone of a piece, that's a piece of writing, is its general character or attitude, which might be cheerful or depressive, sarcastic or sincere, comical or mournful, depends, right? It depends on different poets, that how do they write their poetry. To continue to explore theme and its importance, students, whenever somebody is writing, so the writer must have something in his mind, or in his back of mind, right? So that matters a lot. And because after writing that specific piece of writing, writers usually just publish them. And then when it comes to us, depends that how do we perceive that piece of writing, how do we learn from that, and what do we learn from that? There are different perspectives, right? So we start, after reading, we just get to know, and we get at collect our own meanings or ideas, or maybe different theme. So usually the theme remains same, but this is how we perceive it. So we have to extract the theme of that entire poetry, that poem, and then and why it is important. So we need to know. Then likewise we'll be doing so, right? So this will be our one of the objectives, and we will be taking care of it. To be able to paraphrase a poem, yes, students, is very important. You can't leave it, because paraphrasing is, once you'll understand poetry, once you will come to know that what it's all about, so you yourself will be able to paraphrase this poem easily. To be able to learn and understand a variety of new words related to the topic, those words can be figurative, those words can give you literal meanings as well. And additionally, okay, let me just tell you one thing more here, because it's also very important. That's about literal and figurative meanings. I mean, it has just come in front of us, so I just want to share with you this point as well. That figurative meaning and literal meaning, so there is difference, right? I'm going to tell you soon. I mean, in the next slide. I hope I'll not miss it now. Okay. What is poetry? Before letting you know about poetry, and before I start reading from here, let me just, I have collected few poets' point of views about poetry, and then we'll be studying, I'll be reading from here, right? The first the first opinion is about poetry is, poetry is emotion but in two measures, said by Hardy. Then, poetry is the language of the imagination and the passions, said by William Hazlitt. And then, poetry is the language in which man explores his own amazement, Christopher Fry. So, there are different opinions about poetry. And let me just read it from here now. Let me get you there. Yes, poetry is a type of literature based on interplay of words and rhythm. This is how poet handles it. This is how poet set the words accordingly as he thinks so, right? And it is the other way of using language to express different emotions and feelings. He expresses his feelings, he just shares his own point of view or his emotions, followed by abstract and figurative language mostly. Yes, that I was talking about. I was discussing before about figurative and literal meaning. Yes, but what happens yet, like, in our prose writing, most of the time you must have observed that clear literal words have been given. Why do they give literal meaning? Because that's a direct speech, or maybe directly they are telling us something. I mean, uh, clearly or boldly they are expressing their point of view, which is I mean, crystal clear. There is no ambiguity at all. But in poetry, they make it little attractive, more attractive, and they make it little abstract as well. And for making it abstract, they need to use what they need to use. They need to use figurative meanings, because figurative is not a direct meaning for that, for any of the piece, for any piece of writing, so right. So that's why they use to make for making it more attractive, they use figurative meanings. So usually it's that can be called as an artistic approach, actually, to just make it a little more captivating, so that it should be more attractive or catchy, right? And most of the time it happens that different sentences, different verses are containing different ideas. So this is how it goes with the flow. Sometimes we don't we can't even go accordingly. We need to be with the poet. Like, if in the first verse he's going somewhere else, but in the next verse it relates with the previous one, but sometimes the flow is broken. So it's we are the one, those who have to read it carefully, and then we have to go accordingly as well. Yes, it's about Howard Nemerov. He's the poet. It's very important. He's the poet who has written this very emotional. I don't want to say emotional, but it's all about his childhood, how he was missing his childhood, and how he's now observing again, because when he talks about his own son, that when he takes him to the school, what happened and how did it happen. So let's first talk about his life. His date of birth is mentioned here. It's 29 Feb 29 1920. It's New York, US. And died in it's in 1991, 5th July 1991. And an occupation is poet, nationality United States. I mean, it's Alvarez's schooling is from Harvard College and all that. A Nobel Prize, he also won the Nobel Prize as well. So let's don't waste time here and move forward. Yes, Bete. Now let's talk about this poem, September the 1st. September the 1st. Yes, students. Here, actually, Namarov is trying to recollect his own memories. It's all about father and son, and it tells little about how there was a separation between father and son. I mean, it wasn't actually, but it's been said in this way, as the poet has mentioned it, as he has narrated it he's sharing, like as if he's sharing his own painful experience of dropping his son off to his first day of school, right? So it seems so simple for you, for me, for everyone, but like here poet is becoming so sensitive, and he's pretending this way, or he is expressing his feelings, like how he dropped his son to the school and how did it happen. And or maybe it was all about his family unit, or maybe he was so much attached with his son, and it was so difficult for him when he was leaving him for the school, because it wasn't as simple as it seems and not as easy as it looks, right? So he says, "My child and I hold hands on the way to school." It shows bonding, right? That's why I have displayed one picture also here, that it shows that he intentionally he is trying to drop him to the school, though he wasn't even entrusted to send him to the school, because he was thinking like, my son is quite young, he's too young to for schooling, right? He shouldn't go to the school this time. But and when I leave him at the first grade door, this is a setting, right, where he's gonna leave his son. He cries a little. It shows what we're gonna discuss it, right? But is brave. It shows his bravery. He does. Why it's been broken here? Because he is continuing the sentence with the next line, that he does. Semicolon is here for this purpose. Like, he does let go. Okay, my child and I hold hands on the way to school. This is how they plan to go, and intentionally he was trying to drop his son to the school. And over there, when he was dropping him over there on the first grade door, he found that his child wasn't that much comfortable. He was crying, he was getting so sensy, and it was a painful feel for him, that why my son is crying, right? But he does let go, but he asks he doesn't take it that much serious. He says, it's okay, fine, I'm gonna leave, right? And my selfish tears remind me how I cried before that door in a life ago. Now it was a time when it took him back, years back, or he started looking back on, like, when I was a child, how did it happen to me? How I was taking it seriously, how my parents dropped me, and how I was feeling that time, because I was also living in a family unit, and I had never thought about it that I'll be going to the school. But my parents dropped me too, and you know he at that moment he started recollecting his own memories, his past memories, and those memories made him senti once again. See, I mean, the poets, as I've told you earlier, they're very sensitive, and okay, let's talk about our own experiences. If you remember when you when it was your first day of school, so how did you react? Okay, this will be your assignment, right, students? You'll be writing about your own experiences when you went to the school first time, right? Okay, so my selfish tears remind me how I cried before that door a life ago. So, how sensitively he's discussing and telling us about his own experience, about his own lifetime, and he was seriously worried about. He was nervous, and he never thought about it that I'll be going to school, and he wasn't in plan. He said that I never thought to go to school, but my child, he's saying here that my child, I found my child, he was so brave, right? and he was the one who just gathered his courage and went inside the door, though I wasn't that much brave, braver as he is, right? So this shows his sensitive approach. And it's significantly, if I just talk about, it's all about family unit, right? It's telling us that how the family oriented people usually feel it, like once they are out of their circle of their cluster. So how do they feel it? Because first he was among his family members, and now he has to leave. Naturally, I mean, it's a common practice, it's everywhere. He's not the first child to go, he's not the first child going to the school, right? People do go. But selfish tears actually remind me what that's very important, because selfish tears actually, it's about like the way I cried before that door a life ago. It is pretty sure, like it was crystal clear that these tears are not in sympathy with his son. It shows like sympathetically he's not giving this expression to his son because he doesn't want to do it actually. Rather, they are a bitter reminder of his experience as a student. So it's not for the child. Like when he was crying, or when like his eyes were watery, or there were the tears in his eyes, it doesn't mean like he's showing sympathy, or sympathetically he's giving this gesture to his son. No, he wasn't doing it. He was actually doing it for I mean, like once he was recollecting his past memories, and he it took him back, means years ago. So that's why he was thinking this way, and that's why he was crying, right? I may have had a hard time letting go. So that's why I was heading. I had a same feel. What each each fall the children must endure together. I may have had a hard time letting go. And then afterwards, what he's saying, so it's about like how he's saying that this is the same feel when I was standing up maybe years ago in the same in front of that gate, and now, and I always felt bad about it. Why? Because I may have had a hard time letting go, because I feel like if I'm saying goodbye to anyone, I feel so bad about it. I can never think of it that I'm saying I'm leaving someone, or I'm asking someone to go away. So it's very difficult for me. So this is how he's feeling about, right? But each fall the children must endure together, what every child also endure alone. Whatever is happening, I mean, this is for all the children. This is not only for my child. This is not only for me, or for any of my friends, or for any of them. It's for everyone. Whoever goes to the school, it happens with him. And like, and all the children, every child, each child has to face it alone. He has to bear it. He has to, I mean, he doesn't have any other choice. He has to go on with the same situation. So learning now, one thing more. Now what he has to do, whatever it is, okay, learning the alphabet, he has to, of course, there is no choice. And learning the alphabet, of course, is a part of learning. He can't miss it. Alphabets are there, then integers are there, and so arbitrary, or in each and every part of it, with 3 dozen bits and pieces of stuff. I mean, how he's taking it, like 3 dozens of it. I mean, how that's been broken into different pieces, and the stuff over there. He is bound to learn each and every part of it. So there is no choice at all. So how efficiently the student has to learn, right? Because he has no choice either way. If he's falling down, or he has to be on his toes again, he doesn't have any other choice, right? So he has to be there all the way. And learning alphabets and all that, 3 dozen bits and pieces of stuff, and so arbitrary. And the things, stuff is random, or maybe it's discriminatory. So maybe swiftly, and I mean in a commanding way, if he's learning, and he's bound to do so, because the teachers are there to teach him, and to give him different instructions. And he has no other way out to get rid out of it, to get rid of that situation. He has to be there. He has to learn. and he has to obey his teachers, because they are the one over there, those will be commanding and those will be handling him. So he has to listen them carefully. That word invisible and visible, now they are telling us it's okay, fine, whatever is in front of him, whatever he's looking for, or maybe the thing, the word which is not in front of him, means the realities of life which he has to face, or those facts, or those maybe bitter realities which he doesn't know until now, no problem, but later on he'll be knowing about those all hardships of life. So he has to be there. He has to face the music alone. Nobody will be with him. And he needs to be braver enough so that he can face it courageously and bravely. And this is all about and over and above, if I just talk about this all till here, so what comes in your mind? The child is mentally prepared. He has been he was told actually by his father that you are going to school. He prepared his mind. He tried to go to get into that, to get in, but what happened, that he was little reluctant, but later he found himself a bit braver than his father, right? And sympathetically, father gives an impression, but that wasn't actually sympathetically. He was talking about, he was recalling or recollecting his past memories as well. It was nothing to do with his son, right? But he was giving this impression. So I think it's enough till here today, and we'll be discussing it more, and we'll be paraphrasing. This is, you can review yourself. If there is any problem, you may ask me. So you're most welcome anytime. See, but the words meanings are given as vocab bank. As I've told you, we are in you are in practice. We have already done it, and I've told you like this is about arbitrary, fall integers, and all that. So you may review them from here. Yes, Bete, today my message is a little different. It's about Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's one hadith, and it's been told here that it was narrated that Abdullah bin Amr said, a man came to the Messenger of Allah, Almighty, of Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and asked him for permission to go for jihad. I mean, he was asking for that purpose, right? He said, are your parents alive? He said, yes. He said, then strive for their sake. Surah An-Nisa 3105, right? So its status is Sahih. Now, Bete, the thing is, why I've selected this hadith for you, that you are staying at home, you are living with your parents, you are staying at home, you have nothing to do a lot except studies, right? So don't give tough time to your parents, not only for studies, but in other activities as well. If you are at home, so try your best to serve your mother, to serve your father in different ways. I mean, if your father is coming from outside, serve him a glass of water. I mean, just ask him, just sit with him and ask him what he wants to, if he wants to share something with you, or if you want to share something with him. Likewise, for your mother, do take care of her once she's in kitchen, or if she's sitting, and don't speak louder. Your voice should not be so loud in front of her, right? So do take care of your parents, respect them, and give them importance. You're here in this world because of them, so they deserve a lot, right? So do respect them. Okay, bete, stay blessed, stay connected. God bless you all. Remember us all in prayers. Allah Hafiz.